Could we potentially see the Observer coming as a new killer in the 6-year anniversary? Or even restore the hopes for a licensed killer coming? Well, we got some interesting theories for you guys that just might be true. Stay tuned. How's it going, everyone? I'm your host, The King, and we got a awesome video for you guys today. After doing some more research, I realized that there's a lot of potential for the Observer to come in as the new killer, and even if that doesn't mean he is the new killer, it could set up the potential for licensed killers to still make their way into the fog. I really hope you guys do enjoy this video because it's going to be jam-packed. If you do, make sure you leave a like down below, subscribe for some more DBD content, and the fun continues over on our Twitch. We're going to be live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a few hours, so please come on out. All right, let's jump on into this theory. In yesterday's video, we speculated that Haddie, who is the potential leaked new survivor to come into DBD, could take the role of the Observer. To make a very brief recap, we know that the Observer's room in the PTB was completely broken. Everything was in disarray and the Observer was nowhere to be found. We had the idea that the entity finally was able to locate the Observer and finally extinguish him. We then speculated that if it is true that Haddie, who is a paranormal investigator and has a web series who also has some psychic abilities to see the past and alternate realities, were to come into the fog, it makes sense that she could fit well as the new Observer. But after doing some more thinking about it, it didn't really make sense to have the Observer as a playable survivor, as they would be hidden from the entity, meaning they wouldn't do trials. Now, the whole reason that we think it is Haddie coming into this is that Leaks DBD decided to put out a tweet saying that Haddie was going to be the new survivor. They didn't confirm if the new killer was going to be licensed or not, but they speculated that Haddie, according to data mined information, was going to be the new survivor. Now, they're not wrong often, so take it with a grain of salt because it's not confirmed as well, but what if they were? What if instead the information that they received was just the files that introduced Haddie as a new character, but it wasn't that she was a survivor? It was that she's the new Observer and that was going to be her name, her role, and she's going to be taking that seat. If that was true, that means that the potential for the new survivor leaves the gate wide open and potentially leaving the killer to be the Observer or to be anything licensed. Let's talk about the first scenario. What if the Observer becomes a new killer? This makes a little bit of sense. If we take a look at the 6-year anniversary logo, we can see that there's a lot of blue that's taking over these skulls. I spoke to Polyester and he had a theory about this as well, and quite a lot of you guys said the same thing in the comment section below, that if the entity were to get their hands on the Observer, they would punish them by making them a killer and to do their bidding. The thing with this is that the Observer knows everything. He knows everyone's backstory, so it doesn't make sense for him to be a survivor, and to be a killer would make more sense as he knows how to beat all the survivors. We can potentially see him using things that cater to survivors to make sure that they suffer. This could be things in their past or things that they're fearful of because he practically knows everything. We can see a unique power that changes cosmetics of his weapons. Maybe he hits someone with a book. Maybe he builds in on some of the trauma that some of these characters have in order to punish them and to please the entity in order to gain his freedom, because we know that's all he really wants. Or maybe we can go a little bit of an alternative route. The Observer just becomes so induced with the entity's power that he becomes one of the most unstoppable killers. We've seen something similar with the Blight coming back into the entity's realm just for the Pastula petals and to get some blighted serum, so it wouldn't be too far-fetched that the Observer is now a killer in the entity's realm, causing a little bit of havoc. And if this is true, we know that the entity will be a strong beast because he knows everything. He's been constantly hunted down, constantly been hiding, surviving for such a long time, and if the entity finally captured its claws around him, it could mean some bad news for the survivors. This also sets up the potential for a big overarching story rather than little snippets here and there of lore, which is quite interesting, of DBD having a full-fledged story. We've had glimpses of this with the Blight showing that he was experimenting on killers and his story of coming back, but that soon ended when they closed that chapter and brought him into the game, so it'll be interesting if they start a brand new one. But if the Observer is not the new killer, then it still leads to potential that if Haddie is indeed the brand new Observer, we could see a licensed chapter still coming into the game. Now, this is all under the assumption that the leaks are indeed wrong and Haddie was just in the game files to be the brand new Observer and not the survivor, which leaves the floodgates wide open yet again. Obviously, in previous anniversary events in Year 5 and Year 4, we received Resident Evil and Silent Hill, both iconic licenses to come into DBD, so they might continue doing that at a time where DBD really does need it as the player base is falling slowly. This would still be monumental, and I think people would really enjoy it. We've ran multiple polls, and we've seen Schmuckles run a poll as well, asking if you guys would be happy if this was an original chapter or if this was a licensed chapter. It was almost split down the middle, with 20% saying neutral, 20% saying they don't mind, and the remaining percentage saying that they would prefer a licensed chapter. So if 20% want an original while the other 50% want a license, it's clear to see who the victor is. The tradition and built-in hype could mean that we could still see something like this happening if all of this comes out to be true. We just have to wait and see. But if this is original, who exactly is coming into the realm? Well, that's another video for another time and talking about who we think can come on in, but there's a lot of things that we can rule out that can still give us some speculation on what's to come into the entity's realm. Those being Jason, it probably won't happen considering the lawsuit just got finished. FNAF probably will be unlikely. DBD Leak straight up confirmed that it wasn't going to be it, and they're typically right about these things, so if we are taking that into consideration, it probably isn't FNAF. We know how difficult it could be to get Pennywise or anything from Stephen King to come into the game, so the possibilities are a little bit slim with something iconic that they could bring in for the anniversary event, so we'll just have to wait and see. Personally, I have a very intriguing and interesting list that I will be sharing with you guys on a later video. It's going to be really fun, and we have a lot of ideas and concepts to talk about. But my friends, that pretty much is going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. To sum the video all up again, we could potentially see the Observer coming in as a new killer, or a brand new Survivor and brand new killer coming in as a licensed chapter if Haddie does come into the game and become the Observer. If both are false, we could just see Haddie coming in as the new Survivor, the Observer returning to his spot, or potentially still could be the new killer and we get a different Observer. The possibilities are really endless. But if all is true, Haddie and the Observer have a story that can be told. We know this as well because we did an interview with Matthew Cote back in October, and he told us that we're going to learn a little bit more about some of these cool things. With that being said, guys, it's going to wrap up this episode of Theory Time. I hope you guys really did enjoy. As always, I'm the King. I tip my crown to you guys. Leave a like if you enjoy. Subscribe for some more. Hopefully we see you on Twitch as we're going to be live. And as always, I tip my crown to you guys, and we'll see you in the fog.